Welcome back to Let's Play the Addams Family. Last time, we defeated our first boss, the giant bird, was rewarded with the first of 3 hearts for our life bar as a result, and then spent roughly 10 minutes messing around outside the mansion, looking for extra lives and other hidden items. However, there'll be less of that shameless filler today, as we explore the Conservatory and obtain the second of 3 hearts for our life bar. And by the way, our first secret area, press down on the plant pots to be taken to the plant plot. Yeah. Do you hear that sound, Ocean? That's the sound of my size not splitting. And the reason for my size not splitting is because that was a terrible pun, and you should be ashamed of making it. But as you can see, the Conservatory is enemy infested. We have a lot of enemies here, some old, some new. Those rabbits, for example, return from the underground in the big pit. I'll touch on the new enemies in a moment, but first of all, go left here for another not at all obvious secret area, featuring a whole $12 to collect, and also our first introduction to invisible walkways. And this will totally not become an important gameplay element later on in this area. This is not foreshadowing in the slightest, people. You can trust me on that. Or maybe you can't. It's entirely up to you to decide. So as I said, this is actually quite tricky. We have a lot of enemies. Some are conventional, like these spiders. Others are less conventional and a bit more weird, like the spike bug guys and these 3-eyed flies. And the more weird the enemy is, the more annoying it tends to be, at least that is the case in this area. For example, these 3-eyed flies can be used as platforms, and so they're quite useful in that respect, although we got the training shoes so we don't need it, to hit this switch which we need to activate, otherwise there'll be a set of walls blocking our path to the door. I meant to do that. But the reason for the 3-eyed flies being so annoying is not gameplay, anything to do with their gameplay. They're not particularly hard. Look, you just jump at them and they're gone. No. Every time they change direction, they make this irritating chirping noise, which is like nails on a chalkboard, and makes me want to execute every single one of them every time I see them. And by the way, prime AI by Ocean here. Look at that. They think the walls that are blocking the door are still there, and therefore they cannot touch you while you're in the vicinity of the door. Normally when games make obvious mistakes such as that, I tend to moan about it. However, in this case, where it's actually working in my favour, who am I to bitch and complain? Now our way forward is actually that door over to the left, and for the longest time I thought there was only one way you could get to that door, and that was to super jump off that 3-eyed fly which has just flown off. And I thought that if you messed that jump up, you had one shot at getting in, and if you messed it up, you had to exit the area and come back in. It turns out I'm an idiot. We've known this for several years now. But I'm an idiot because it's a much more conventional method of getting to that door. And it may or may not have something to do with this not at all obvious switch. Spoilers, it totally does. Now I know what you're thinking, the door's over to the left so you can go in it now. Well, yes we could, but we have business to take care of over to the right here first. Because my main objective, if you will, of this LP is to show off any and all secret areas and other little Easter eggs that the Addams family has to offer. Slipping into the stakes there was not an Easter egg that the Addams family has to offer. That was just poor playing on my part. That does demonstrate, however, the slipperiness of these platforms. And luckily we did hit the switch before we died, and therefore the switch stays on. And it means we can avoid these exploding tomatoes. But the point I was trying to come to before I was so interrupted by slipping into death itself is that there are a lot of secret areas in the Addams family. And basically, if I know of a secret area's existence, I'm going to show it off in the LP. It's just the way I am. If something exists in a game and I know about it, then I tend to show it off. Such is the case here. And by the way, Gomez keeps his money in some weird places, doesn't he? He's kept some money on the roof of his own house. He's kept some money in a funnel in the Conservatory. It's a wonder the Addams family didn't go bankrupt during the last recession. And as you saw earlier, there's a bit of these platforms are a bit tricky because they are subject to momentum. If you land on the tip, as I'm trying to show you here, no, that's not a tip. Well, it is a tip, but it's not a tip I want to land on there. If you land on the tip, you'll be absolutely fine with the momentum. If you go on the sloping bit, then you can easily slide right into the stakes. They're not really spikes, they're wooden stakes. I guess either the Addams family are definitely afraid of vampires, or they have some vampires in their family. I suppose Morticia does look kind of vampire-esque, doesn't she? With the pale skin and the black clothing she wears. I'm not suggesting everyone with pale skin and black clothing is a vampire. I'm just saying that's like the typical sort of imagery. Certainly in the West, anyway, we have of vampires. If you happen to have pale white skin and wear a lot of black clothing, please know I am not calling you a vampire. Please do not sue. And because we went in that bonus area, the switch resets itself, and without the switch we can't get back to the door. Well, unless you do what I thought you could do in the first place and jump off the fly. Whatever, I'm ranting. Let's just get to that door, shall we? Yes, I think we'll do that. Avoid these spike bug dudes, try and get some words out of my mouth. Now once you go through this door, go as quickly as you can over to the right here, because if you manage to jump off this rabbit, then you gain access to another cool little secret. It's not a secret area, it's this stash of money. If you had not been quick enough and killed the rabbit before you got up to the platform, you'd have had to have gone the back way, and there would have been a wall blocking your way off to the money. Gomez truly is a capitalist. He gets extra lives for collecting $100, for crying out loud. We also have these exploding tomatoes. Now they're not particularly tricky right now, but in a later area after the boss, good god man, good god they are annoying. I think as I said before, one of the strengths of the Addams family is its non-linearity. I mean, this is quite a hard area for the second area of the game. But of course, it's only the second area of the game because I'm choosing it to be the second area of the game. I think my friend Freezing Inferno said it best over on Skype a few days back. He said, this is a Metroidvania game. And I would agree with that analogy. I think it's a good analogy. But I would like to just take it one stage further. This is more Metroidvania than actual Metroidvania. You know the ones I mean, like certain DS Castlevania games are true Metroidvania. In those games, you'll always, yes, you have a free choice of where you go, up to a point, however, because there'll always come a time when there's an area that you can't access unless you've defeated a certain boss, or you've picked up a certain item or weapon. By the way, the poor collision detection actually works in your favour here, because you can grab the ropes even when it looks like you aren't even touching them. It's kind of hard to explain. I hope it shows up better on the video. Obviously that jumping into the spikes showed up. I'm calling them spikes again. They're stakes. They're not spikes. But anyway, enough ranted, because inside this door lies our boss, and he is very easy. Well, I say he, it's actually they. These are the centipedes, and all you've got to do to beat them is to stay in the sides of the room and jump on their segmented bodies whenever you can. And they go down extremely easy. And just to make things even easier for you, that's how you don't do it, but just to make things even easier, just stay in the sides of the room, the centipedes cannot hit you. Really, the only way you would die to this boss, as I showed there, was either impatience or jumping at the wrong time. I sort of showed off both of them there. Otherwise, this is extremely easy. They might as well just have the heart hanging in the air, to be honest, because this is not tough in the slightest. There you go, perfect the second time around. And I have to say, I love that jingle. That "You Got a Heart" jingle is awesome. It's a pity you only hear it 3 times throughout the game. Oh, and in case you hadn't noticed, up on the ceiling here we have spikes. So, don't super jump off that boss, or you'll smack yourself right into the spikes. Unfortunately, the tricky part of this of the conservatory area, if I can call it that, I suppose I can, it is my LP. The tricky part of this area is not the boss. It's actually surviving the escape from the boss. As you can see, we have the return of the splitter plants, and we also have a replacement for those annoying flies. Now we have rotund parrots. I think they're supposed to be rotund parrots. But, oh, and also I've got nothing as to what the hell they are. Martians? Plant men? But they are not the trickiest obstacles to overcome here. Oh no, those tomatoes. Those tomatoes are the devil incarnate in the monster garden. And the reason for this is they can attack you from off the screen. quite often you will just hear an explosion, even when the tomato is not on screen, and it will just explode, and you'll have very little time to react. Like here, for example, where I had no chance. And to make matters worse, every time you kill an enemy in an area, it stays dead until you leave that area and come back in. Not so with the tomatoes. Every time you scroll the tomatoes off the screen and come back, they'll be back as well to explode in your face with more juicy goodness. I swear Uncle Fester's been doing some genetic engineering, because tomatoes are not meant to explode like that. Jesus. So they are by far the hardest part of this area. We also have a lot of switches to activate, but they're easy compared to the damn tomatoes. They're even exploding at the bottom of the screen. I mean, thankfully they can't actually touch you at the bottom of the screen, but that one sure can. I was kind of lucky there. See, it even respawned when you go up 1 pixel of a screen length. Now, the exit to this area is over to the left here, but if we go over to the right, there is a very nifty little secret. It's kind of tricky to get to, but it is worth it. First kill this plant, and then don't hit that switch. That's actually a trap. Instead, what you want to do is walk under this parrot, and you'll notice we've created ourselves a little bridge. Now, there are 2 ways of doing it. There's the conventional method, and if I can pull it off right, the cool method. This is the cool method. No, this is not the cool method. This is missing the bird altogether. What I'm trying to do here is to jump off the bird. Well, it's mid-flight. Oh, nearly. So close. We'll do it the old-fashioned way instead. The old-fashioned way is to jump over here. And be careful of that tomato. You have to be in the middle block there, or you will get hit by that tomato. So we actually have a cache of 5 1-ups up there. And how you get to them is you create yourself a bridge. As I'm doing here. Oh god. Also, I do love the little detail of Gomez banging his head on the bricks every time you hit one. It's the little touches that make this game good, okay? I wouldn't call it great, but it is fun, it is decent, it's got unfair collision detection in parts, and parts of it are very, very frustrating, but for the most part, it is good. And there you are, 1-up Palooza. And if you're smart like me, you will leave yourself a little gap in the platforms. Then you don't have to go through the whole business of getting up there. Instead, you can just drop down here, hit the switch, and you are free to leave. We are the prisoner, we are free to go. That is a... God almighty, that's an obscure reference. I think you said that in like the last 10 seconds of one episode. Anyway, now that we're at the end of the Monster Garden, we have 3 options. We can go back into the Monster Garden, which is pointless, because there's walls blocking everywhere. We could have used that flyer to jump over the spikes and continue the back way around the Thorn Pass. Or we could take this door. This door leads us to the Long Garden. And the Long Garden is the way to get to the graveyard to free one of the family members. And if you know the show, you can probably work out which family member is hiding in the graveyard. So this is the Long Garden. Like the look of the Long Garden? Good. Say goodbye to the Long Garden. Because we're not going there just yet. We'll be going there in a couple of videos' time. Instead, go through the door again, and you're in a completely different area called Poison Ivy. And these next 2 areas, I'm actually doing a little tiny bit of sequence breaking. You're actually supposed to, well, obviously you can't really sequence break in a non-linear platformer such as this one. But I get the feeling you're supposed to go up that area rather than down it. And by the way, this secret area has a lot more money, and one of the most pointless invincibility locations of all time. Because having collected the invincibility, you now have to wait up to 10 to 15 seconds, going the long way down here, all the way back out to Poison Ivy. I mean, if there was a hole at the top there that you could just walk through, this wouldn't be so bad. As it is, this is going to last approximately, as I said, 10 seconds and be about as much use as a chocolate fire guard. And one interesting thing of note of the invincibility, every time you use it to kill an enemy, by the way, 3 points, every time you use it to kill an enemy, you will actually not get any points for it. Even if you jumped on their head, like, they will not pop and you will not get points for it. and that should totally have hit me, but it didn't. And the way to get to that money, by the way, is once again invisible walkway. And for whatever reason, that plant decided to despawn, which I'm grateful because it probably would have shot me in the face. We're now in the Rose Room, and that's with Poison Ivy and the area that leads off from the Rose Room. I'm kind of doing it backwards. I hasten to call it sequence breaking because I said, how can you sequence break in a Metroidvania? But, well, I suppose you can. But it's sequence breaking because this is another route to get to the Long Garden. You can't get to the boss from the Rose Room, but you can get to the Long Garden. And what you're supposed to do here, and I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it, is to jump off all these enemies to get a big boost off them and get over the wooden stakes that the gardener has very unhelpfully placed. Again, Fester, I'm looking in your general direction because I think he was always the sort of the king gardener of the Addams family. There is a little bit of a trick to these spikes, actually. See, you can actually stand on them as long as you don't stand on the point. Get on the point! That heavy's a bloody spy, another TF2 references, which will never be mentioned again during this during this LP. Because this is the Addams family, damn it, not Team Fortress 2. There we are at the end of the Rose Room. Now the sequence breaking becomes apparent here in the Money Spider, which by the way is an awful title for another awful title for an area, because it made me think it was leading up to a boss on my first playthrough, so when I actually got to the boss and found out it was the Centipedes, I wasn't mortally disappointed because who wants to fight a giant spider, but I did think it was kind of misleading. This is quite a tricky area, and I think if you're doing it the reverse way, you will die at least once. Like that. But the trick here is to cower in fear and using the duck button. I have to say that ducking animation is hilarious. But as I was saying, you are going to die at least once if you tackle this area the wrong way around. If you're going through this area the conventional way, that is going down as opposed to up, this is a piece of piss. But if you, for whatever reason, if you decide to go up through the Money Spider instead of down through the Money Spider, you're going to take a lot more damage. I think it's probably to do with enemy placement more than anything. Oh, son of a bitch. Come on. Okay, we're nearly at the top of the Money Spider, but now I think I'm pretty much dead because you pretty much have to take a hit if you're sequence breaking. I should really stop calling it sequence breaking, shouldn't I? Because you see, how the hell are you supposed to get through here? I mean, you can sort of glitch jump off the parrots, but you've got a spider, and you've got a wooden stake. Let's go for it! Bollocks. There you are, that's the way it's done. It's not the most efficient way of doing it, but I find that's, for me, that's the only way of doing it. And now we're back at the Conservatory, and as you can see, there is the door to the Thorn Pass, now blocked off. And that's going to do it for this part of Let's Play the Addams Family, so thank you for watching. Join me next time when we go after the final the final of the 3 hearts for our life bar in the kitchen. See you later.